What's on, ladies and gentlemen? My name's Ross, I like games, and today we need to take a look at the best cards to pull from OP-08. Pre-releases have begun for this. We've got the full release coming up on Friday. So the question is, when you open your packs of OP-08, what are you looking for? What are you looking to pull? What are the best cards to pull from the set? And you know what? I think I can help with this. So let's have a gander. Just as we get going here, one card I want to point out is the alt art leader of Marco. Now, I have a soft spot for this card. I pulled this card from one of my Japanese boxes. I'm a big fan of this card. I love that I have this card in Japanese. But in Japanese, it is not an expensive card. Like, at all. It's actually an incredibly cheap card. It's like a 2,000 yen card right now. To put that into context, 2,000 yen, you're basically talking around about $14. Pretty much exactly $14. And don't get me wrong, we know that generally speaking, Japanese cards are a little bit cheaper. But even if we look at a proportional thing, Marco is no more expensive than really any of the other leaders. All the alt art leaders are 1,500, except for Marco is 2,000, and then... well, the big one we'll get to in a minute is 5,000. So Marco is like 30% higher than the other random junk leaders in the set. But the pre-order prices for Marco on places like TCG Player are putting it above things like the special rare Gecko Moria and the alternate art Black Maria, cards we'll get to in a moment. And over in Japan, they are both miles above Marco. So just as we start off here, Marco, the pre-order price, the pre-sale price right now is way too high. And I think people are massively overestimating that card. I actually really like the leader. I think it's a brilliant card. Don X1, activate main once per turn, draw a card. Put a card from your hand to the top or bottom of your deck and give a minus 2k power to one of your opponent's characters. I love the leader. And I love that I pulled it in Japanese, but the price in English is way off from the price in Japan, and generally that means it's too high and is going to come down. The card that we never had in Japan is the Treasure Rare Luffy. As far as I am concerned, the best English Treasure Rare we've had so far. I really like this one, it's really cool. But it's going to be about a $30 card. And I know that because the Treasure Rare Lore from OP-07 is about a $30 card. And the Treasure Rare Nami from OP-06 is about a $30 card. So I feel like this is going to be about a $30 card. That should still put it at the bottom end of the top 10 cards from the set. But just kind of letting you know, it's going to be about a $30 card. This is one you want to be pulling, because I think it's the best Treasure Rare so far. But I do have a massive soft spot for the Egghead arc, so maybe I'm being a little bit biased. Now, we can really put the cards you want to pull from this set into 3 categories. Category number 1, alternate arts, regular alternate arts. And there are basically 4 of these that make up the top 10. And if we actually put them into a top 10, especially, looking at Japanese prices, where we're taking out the Treasure Rare, these would be 10, 9, 8, and 7. So we've got the alternate art of Puddin'. Now, this is an alternate art of a rare, which makes it a bit less valuable. The super rare alts and secret rare alts are always a bit more valuable. But firstly, it's Puddin'. Everybody loves Puddin'. And secondly, phenomenal card. On your turn, once per turn, when a Don card on your field is returned to your Don deck, add a Don card from your Don deck and rest it. And as I told you in the FAQ the other day, we've got Black Maria that lets you put out 5 Don, and then at the end of your turn, you have to return them until you've got the same number of Don as your opponent. Well, it has been officially ruled that if you put Don back with Black Maria, even though you're really just returning Don you borrowed, it counts as Don being put into the deck. So it will activate Charlotte Puddin's skill here, which is a very big deal. Charlotte Puddin is already in Japan a staple in basically every purple deck. It is a phenomenal card. It is one we all need to just, acknowledge is kind of awesome. The only alt art leader which is getting on this list of the best cards to pull, the only one that's really moving the needle, is, again, Charlotte Puddin'. The Alt Art Charlotte Pudding, like I say, over in Japan, you got Marco at 2k, 2,000 yen. All the others at 1,500 yen, and then Charlotte Pudding at 5. This should be, by a bit of a margin, the best Alt Art leader in the set. Playability-wise, it's fine. We've got yellow-purple, and when attacking, you may turn 2 cards on the top of your life face up, and then add a Don card from your Don deck and rest it. Do remember, you have to have both of your top life face down to use this skill. If one or both of them are already face up, then you cannot activate Charlotte Pudding's skill. Sorry about that. That's just the way it works. But it's Charlotte Pudding. I think this is more the character and the art than it is necessarily the card and the playability. But this is the big leader in the set. I know the pre-orders at the moment are putting Pudding and Marco pretty much side by side. They shouldn't be. It should be Pudding, and honestly, not really any others. Now, I mentioned Black Maria. The Alt Art Black Maria is another card you definitely want. Over in Japan, this is trending at about the same as the Alt Art Pudding. And I told you what this skill does. I mean, it's also got counter plus 2k. Because one of the things about this card is you can only use this if you've got no other Black Maria. So you play one, use it as an amazing skill. Just note for a second that the skill does not force you to rest Black Maria. So your opponent can't just attack when you rest it. They've got to actually find a skill to remove it. And then if you've got a bunch of Black Maria in your hand that you can't play, because if you play a second it turns all of them off, just use a counter plus 2k. Phenomenal card, ridiculous card. Even the regular version of this is going to be a good pull. And you get like 7 super rares per box. Cross your fingers, you get Black Maria in all your boxes, because Black Maria is going to be, by a gigantic margin, the most valuable in the set. According to TCG Player right now, it is 2 or 3 times the number 2 super rare in the set. If we have a look at the prices in Japan, for instance, it is about 3 times any other, with one exception. And that is Nami. And the alternate art of Nami makes our list here. But Nami here, this is a card that absolutely deserves it. It should be the highest of these alternate arts. This one, again, we're not really doing a top 10 list per se, but we kind of are, I suppose, if you think about it. But this really is number 7. This is the top of the alt arts here. And you know what? When I edit this, I'm going to turn it into a top 10 list. We'll just put the numbers at the top. But the whole point is we're looking at the best cards in the set. And Nami absolutely gets there. Nami is a very good card. And if you look at the super rares over in Japan, Nami is actually tied with Black Maria. And I've told you how good Black Maria is. As a fun little side note, the Nami in the English pre-sale at the moment, significantly lower than Black Maria, the regular version. But what we've got from Nami is, firstly, it's Nami, and secondly, it's a phenomenal card which is popping up in a whole bunch of decks. Because what we've got here is, on play, trash a card with trigger from your hand, KO an opponent's character with 5 cost or less, and then if you've got 3 or fewer cards in hand, draw a card. And it does the same thing as a trigger. Well, if you're playing yellow, you're probably going to be playing a bunch of triggers. So being able to KO an opponent's character and then draw a card, that sounds really good as an on-play or as a trigger. So those are the alt arts. The next category we can get to here is special rares. So nominally, in at number 6, we've got Queen, the lowest of the alternate arts here. But we've got the Queen from Starter Deck 4. This is the one that's got blocker, and when you block Don -1, draw 2, trash 1. It is a phenomenal card, and you'll notice we're back in the OP-05 style of special rares here. This is a phenomenal card. Nominally in at number 5, we've got Gecko Moria. Not the really good Gecko Moria from OP-06, but the Gecko Moria from Starter Deck 3. Lets you add a 7 Warlords of the Sea or Thrillerbark Pirates with a cost of 4 or less other than Gecko Moria from your trash to your hand. Not the best Gecko Moria card, but all of these special rares, and it is literally all of them. Like this second category here is literally the 6 special rares. They are all beautiful in this set. They are all absolutely worth getting. The special rares in this set is a big deal. This is not always the case. We don't always see that every set you get all the special rares as numbers like 2 to 6. But you know what? We're almost there here. Because this is the point where we need to awkwardly put TCG in. Because as much as I think TCG is awesome, and I do, this is maybe my actual chase card for the entire set. It is the lowest of these special rares. Actually comes in at the same level as the Alt Art Nami. So if you really want, put this as a kind of joint number 7. I love this card. It's the one from Starter Deck 6, which lets you rest this character to give -2 cost. Decent card, love the artwork. Been rereading One Piece recently, got to the introduction of TCG, and TCG's introduction is very cool. One of my favourite introductions in One Piece. So you know what? I love this card. I know not everybody agrees with me, and that's okay. So we're going to awkwardly just pop this one in here, because it doesn't really fit neatly into this category, and that's what I mean about not doing a real top 10, but you know what? People like the numbers. Now, after Moria, there is a big jump, where we get into number 4, the 4th biggest card in the set, which is the special rare of Ace. And I'm going to be honest with you, this is largely just the popularity contest thing again. I'm not saying Ace isn't a good card. As a fun little side note, yes, it is the one that had the manga rare in OP-02. But on play, give 2 characters -3k, and then if you got Whitebeard Pirates, you get Rush. It's fine, but it's in play here and there. It's just not a big powerhouse card like that. But it is Ace, so that kind of makes sense. In at number 3, we've got Bonnie. And again, over in Japan, there is a decent jump. There's not really much point looking at English prices right now, because they're in that awkward situation where they're all massively too high and they haven't settled down. The Japanese, it doesn't really matter what the prices are here. It's more just, if we look at the Japanese prices, they've been out for a while, so we can get a really good comparison. We know that the Bonnie, and as a side note, I should tell you, it is actually the Bonnie from Starter Deck 2. We know that this Bonnie is a fair bit above Ace, and that these special rares are all above the alternate arts, so it gives us a nice comparison here. And to be fair, the Bonnie is alright. It's your searcher for supernovas, so if you're playing supernovas and you're playing green, this is a cool card. And then the second biggest card in the set, although really it's tied with Bonnie, is Charlotte Puddin'. This is a Charlotte Puddin' set. I've shown you the Alt Art character, that's on this list. I've shown you the Alt Art leader, that's on this list. Now we've got the special rare as well. It is the one from OP-03, which is your generic Big Mum Pirate Searcher. Very cool card, seen a huge amount of play, because Big Mum Pirates have seen a huge amount of play in yellow. And this is what, well, you go and get your characters, it's a good thing. So we love this, this is a very cool card, and this is one of the big ones. The big 2 special rares are Pudding and Bonnie. Let's be perfectly clear here, no mucking about. Pudding and Bonnie are the big 2, but they're also the more popular characters, so that makes sense. And then obviously in terms of manga rares, it's going to be number 1, it's Rally. It's always number 1, the manga's always number 1. This is always going to be the best card to pull in the set. Until we get to the gold mangas, more on that later. But the point is, the manga rare's always going to be the biggest. I do need to let you know that when it comes to manga rares, this is not the best one to pull. This is one of the lower manga rares. In fact, if we look at all of the manga rares that we've actually had in the game so far, this is second only to the Soja King from OP-03 in terms of manga rares you probably would rather not pull. This is low, ladies and gentlemen. When it comes to the value of manga rares here, this is low. Still higher than Soja King, which is awesome, but that is literally it. If you go through and have a look at all of the Japanese manga rares, they all tend to settle at about the 100,000 yen stage. You get the odd one that's a bit higher, but they generally tend to settle about 100,000 yen. Rally is settled at 80,000 yen, which is still better than Soja King, that's 60,000 yen. But still, this is the worst manga to pull since OP-03. You have been warned. But, come on, it's still the manga. Let's do it. Okay, they're the best cards to pull from OP-08. You've been told. So now it's over to you guys. Tell me what you think about these. Tell me what your chase cards are. Tell me anything you want to tell me in the comment section. Go nuts. Be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWasi. That's where we talk about One Piece and a bunch of other card games. And please do consider checking out patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can support the channel, get some bonus podcasts, join a Discord, and all kinds of fun things. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching Wasi Plays.